Thursdays are our chapel, and I love it. I think since my second semester here, our president Craig just called a bunch of us. There was like 6 of us. He just called us up and out, and he just equipped us. And he was like, I believe that God has just like highlighted you guys to me, and we ran with it. And I think some of us aren't in the room today, but some of us are, and we have seen God do mighty things with chapel. We've gone from chapels being to just the same 10 people every single week to a room like this, into a room even more full. And that was our faith. That was our prayer, that God, you're going to fill the seats with the people that you need. So if you're here today, please believe we've been praying for you since 2022. We've been praying for you to be in this room. We're normally not up here. We're downstairs, but it's the same thing. So yeah, I'm just a young woman after God's own heart. I think I've known God all my life. I grew up in a Christian home, but it wasn't until I came out here on my own to discover who was God for myself. What was faith? What was Christianity for myself? And God has just taken me on such a beautiful journey. And now I get to be here, and I get to talk to you guys today about a topic that's very heavy, but that I've struggled with on my own. And this has been something that I wanted to talk about for a long time. But as you guys know, sometimes what we have in our brain, we can't put on paper. We can't find the words to say until we just sit with the Holy Spirit and we just sit with God, and He begins to just show us and teach us and tell us. So I think this has been something that God has been just sitting with me and helping me understand in the last 3 years. Because my story starts when I was 16, and it goes all the way up to my first year in Hawaii. But before, I want us to stand as we read the Word of God in Romans 8:28. We all know this verse. We love this verse. So if you have your Bibles, I'll give you a minute. If you don't, I don't have any slides. I didn't have time. Or maybe I procrastinated, and yeah, so I'm going to be honest with you guys. But yeah, Romans 8:28 says, "And we know that all things work together for good to them that love God, to them who are the called according to His purpose." Amen. You guys can be seated. Yeah, if you were to ask me years ago, even growing up in a Christian household, like why God does certain things, I probably wouldn't be able to answer you. And that is the same response I'm going to give you now. Sometimes we don't know and we don't understand. And in this verse, it's the promise of God that He's going to work out all things together for good. And that doesn't mean that things that you want or that you desire, and that are just that are just good by themselves. But sometimes in your life, you're going to go through seasons and situations that are bad and that are terrible, and that you feel like you are in the pit. And that's biblical. To be in the pit, to be in the valley, like that's biblical. So there are gonna be moments where you're there. So if you haven't been there yet, I would say hold on, because I think, but it's a part of our walk with God to be there. But you can't understand how good He is until you're in a moment where you have to just look up at Him and be like, okay, God, you are good and you are merciful and you are faithful. But even the bad things, God is going to work them together for us because we believe in Him. And that's what this verse says, is those who love Him and those who are called according to His purpose. Here at Pack Rim, we believe you are called. You're called for the voyage. You're called for the journey. And we even say it here. A lot of people, I don't know if the staff likes that I say this, but I usually say, like, if you're not called to Bible college, I would begin to start thinking where to go next. Because we can come here and everything, but if you're not called, if you don't take up that calling with a whole leap of faith, you're in for a ride. I'm not going to tell you to leave because I don't want that, but I would say begin to pray and ask God, what is the call on my life? And here especially while we do student-led chapels or student-led services, is to really equip you in your calling and to equip you in what that looks like. And as I've been here the last 4 years, little would I know that what my leadership would teach me or the teachers at Pack Room would teach me would help me in my own personal life. Because we have school, you have your academic life, but then you have your personal life. There are reasons sometimes why you can't make it to class. Just the other day, I got a phone call and had to get up and leave class. So our academic life and our personal life are very different. And that really ties into what I want to speak to you guys today. Given the month, a lot of you guys know, especially if you're on the Gen Z side, that we've designated September for Suicide Prevention Month. And it is sad to say that over the course of the years, it's only skyrocketed and, gone higher. But I do believe that there is revival. It's already here. It's not on its way. It's already here. And I do believe that Gen Z, we will be suicide free. And if not our generation, then the generation after us. Have you ever felt that life itself was so heavy to carry? And that the weight on your chest was so strong that you couldn't take another step? Even here in Bible college, I can attest to that same exact feeling. I have woken up on days where I'm like, man, I don't even want to go to class. And it's not because of the teacher, and it's not because of the work. It's just my life feels so heavy. My heart feels so heavy. I don't even want to be awake. Like, if I'm honest with you, those are thoughts that I've had, very real thoughts. Some people, they tend to call it depression, but I'm very careful with my words because I don't want to slap a label on something that it's not. I do think that, yes, if you do struggle with depression, that God is still for you and there's a way out of that, but I wouldn't say that just because we're struggling that we're depressed. And I feel like today in society, we, especially outside in the world, if we look at the youth and the younger generation, we become self-diagnosis, and we'll self-diagnose ourselves. Like, oh, I'm so sad, I'm so broken, and I'm so lonely, I'm depressed. But the thing about that, if you look into the spiritual life, is you've just now slapped a label on you that is ungodly, and it's not holy. And you've essentially just opened the door for the enemy to manifest however he pleases. And it sounds so heavy and it sounds so harsh, but that's the truth. Like, if you haven't, be careful with my words. If you haven't gone to a doctor, if you haven't gone to a psychiatrist, and they haven't told you that, why would you want to slap that on yourself? Why would you want to give yourself that name tag that you're depressed, that you have anxiety, that you're suicidal. And that word to me, believe it or not, I know a lot, we shouldn't have fear, but that's a very scary word to me, to be suicidal. And I think it's because I've been there before. So I'm like, when people begin to say that word, like, oh yeah, like I'm suicidal, inside, like my stomach begins to get in knots because I'm like, I know what it's like to be there, So when someone says that has it been there, or they're like, oh yeah, like I'm depressed and I have all this stuff, and they kind of talk about it lightly, I don't get angry, but I get scared because I'm like, do you know the door that you're opening up for yourself? To walk into to the things that you're saying can now come into your life. There's a reason why the Word of God says don't give the enemy even just a foothold. A foothold is if I go to that door and I just put my foot in the door. Imagine how much space is there. That's a foothold. And why does he say not to do that? Because if the enemy now comes in through that foothold, you can't control where the enemy will manifest. You have authority and you have power, but you can't control where he'll manifest. And I say that because I believe that's what happened in my life. That because I live in Gen Z and I live in a society where we like to take our problems and think that we know what we're talking about and what we have, I know that I let the enemy kind of come on in and begin to tell me, well, you're depressed, well, you have anxiety, You know, it'd be better for you to just not be here. And I was only 16 at the time. Like, imagine the blessing that God has on our life, you know, for the enemy to want to come at such a young age to tell us that no, we really don't have purpose, that we really don't, that are not loved, and that the purpose for our life is meaningless. Like, he has to work so hard and at such a young age, because if he does it when we're younger, then as we grow up with that mindset. You know, like he works different when it comes to young people, when it comes to older people, because as we're young, our minds are still growing and they're still like taking in everything, you know. But it's by the grace of God and walking in this way that I was able to see those thoughts and see what the enemy was telling me, to be like, I actually don't want that for myself, and I don't want that for my life. So I think I honestly am just trying to beat around the bush. So I'm just going to jump into it. There was a time in my life where I didn't want to live anymore. I loved Jesus, and I loved the church. I loved going to church. I loved worship. I loved praising God. I loved reading my word. I loved turning on the Christian station. I loved working with the youth and with children. But when I'd go home and I lay my head to rest, there was no peace. I felt like I thought about everything, and I mean everything. I felt like I couldn't shut my brain off. And maybe you felt this way too, or maybe you know someone who has. And I want to talk to you about it today, because it's a reality. Suicide is a reality. It's not just a word. It's not a play on words. It's not a label. It's a real thing. It's a real thing that people go through. It's a real thing that even as Christians, we've walked. Over these last 4 years, I've fallen so deeply in love with the Lord, and I pray that I continue to fall deeply in love with God for who he is and what he's done in my life. But that doesn't mean I haven't faced struggles or walked through darkness and walked through valleys or been in the pit. I know that a lot of people here, they like to call me firecracker because I'm just all over the place. If you don't see me in one area, I'm probably in another area. I travel a lot. I'm always doing something. I'm really loud. I'm just really loud. I just went to Japan this past month, and it was really hard to see the culture. It was like more toward leaning to be quiet. So I was like, man, this is hard, because I know I like to talk, and I see that. And what used to be like, oh my goodness, I'm so weird, is this actually, I know I have the joy. I know the joy of the Lord is in me, and it is my strength. But there have been a time, and sometimes still moments, where I felt like my brokenness disqualified me to the call, to even pack room, like to even be here. Like I just was not enough. And that's the lie. That's one of the lies. One of the many lies the enemy likes to tell us is, you're not enough. And I just felt like in this darkness, like there's no one can help me. You know, like, because we're in the church and they're telling us, have joy, have faith, you know, keep praying, keep breathing. But in that darkness, I felt so isolated from everything. I was like, what is prayer going to do? You know, I'm just stuck. I feel like I can't get out. But then I met a man, and his name was Jesus. And he met me in that spot. And he met me in that darkness, and in a place where I thought there was no hope, there was no love, there was no joy, there was nothing. He came, and he was my best friend. I love describing Jesus as my best friend, because that's what he is, you know. Recently, there's been like a lot of preachers like who'll come up, and not here, but in general, they'll be like, yeah, like Jesus is my bro, he's my homie. But like, no, like Jesus is my best friend. When I tell you he's my best friend, I mean that. Like, I'll go to him with anything. Like, especially if someone is like getting me mad, I'd be like, Lord, I know you say like I gotta love them, but I really don't feel like doing that right now. Like, I can't. And you know, he'll just talk me out of it. He'll talk me down. Believe it or not, I am very feisty. So sometimes when I'm just talking to God about stuff, like I'm talking to him, like if we're on a FaceTime call and I'm throwing my hands up in the air, and then I allow him to speak, and in those moments he meets me like, hey, chill out. So that's what I mean, like he's my best friend. Sometimes it isn't through sudden breakthrough that we, or like these big miracles or this big healing that we encounter Jesus or his healing. But it's in the quietness of his presence. And he reminded me that my life mattered. And it mattered to him. And for a moment, even when it didn't matter to me, my own life didn't matter to me, it mattered to him. And he showed me that even when I felt like I had nothing left to give, to offer, he was still holding me. There's like that one quote that's like, Lord, even if I'm holding on just by the hem of your garment, like it wasn't even that. Like he was holding me. He ran to me. He gave me the robe. I didn't ask for this. I didn't ask for Bible college. He gave it to me. And why? I think I know a little bit now, but I won't know until I finish, until I complete what I've come here to do and lean in and continue to press in. But he gave this to me. I didn't ask for it. I wanted to go to law school, and I wanted to be a lawyer, and I wanted to, defend all these people and yell at people and debate. But Jesus was like, no, I have a completely different life for you. So looking back, I realized that Jesus had this plan all along. So I'm going to tell you a story about myself. And when I got here to Pack Rim, I was excited. I was like, okay, we're in it. We're in Bible college. This is cool. I was open to everything and anything. I was like, oh, you want me to do this? Okay, you want me to do this? Okay, like I didn't care. Like I just wanted to be so involved and to feel like I have a place, and I did. And Pack Rim, it gave me a home, it gave me a community, and I love everybody. Like even the president, I call the president like he's my best friend, because what type of president comes and just like comes and hugs you? Like a president of a school comes and hugs you and talks with you. That's not at every school. That's not at every Bible college. So the president we have here is special. The staff that we have here is special. Uncle Paul, he's a staff here. He's a leader. But how many, in other Bible colleges or in other colleges that where you can go up and be like, yeah, hey, uncle. Just even saying uncle is like, you go to a school on the mainland and you talk about it, they'll be like, you're close like that with your staff? Like, yeah. Like, if I need them to pray for me, I can go up and ask them to pray for me. And I know that they won't even take a second. They'll be like, yeah, of course. We're close with our ladies who, with Julie and Michelle, who help us. Like, that's so special. Like, I don't think you guys realize, like, how special that is, the community that we have here at Pack Rim. But I wouldn't know how special it was until God took me through this season. So I'd been here, living on my own. I was freshly 18. I moved out of the house. Like, that was the first time being away from mom and dad, and moving to literally the middle of the ocean by myself. And I had fallen back into some old sins, and there was a lot of shame, and there was a lot of guilt. And I remember one night driving home, I was just bawling. I genuinely don't know how I made it home because of the amount that I was crying. I think by the grace of God, I made it home. Because the whole way home, I was like, man, like, what if I don't just drive home? What if I drive until I just can't drive anymore? What if I drive until I just go? Like, I just wanted to rev the gas. I naturally have a heavy foot, but in that moment, I just wanted to go full throttle and just go and just take it, because I didn't care. I was like, man, like, God took me all the way to Hawaii, and I still did this to him. I still treated him like this. Like, even in Bible college? Like, I'm a Bible college student. I should know better. I did know better. But in that moment, it didn't feel like that. I feel like I had just essentially, like, cashed in every single thing I've ever had and was like, you know what, God? Like, I can't do this. I don't know why you called me here. I don't know why you called me away from my family. And I began just, like, giving every excuse that I possibly could. And I made it home. and it was really late. And I didn't want to, like, I was sobbing, so I didn't want to go inside because, like, when I tell you, like, I was crying, like, I was like, I'm going to wake somebody up. And I didn't want to do that. I didn't want to be more of an inconvenience than I already felt in that moment. I texted one of my friends, and I was like, can you bring me, like, some tissues or something? And he did. He brought me a roll of toilet paper. And if you don't know him, his name is Enlet. His name is E. He actually moved back to the Big Island to finish school there. But in that moment, like, he did not know what was wrong. He did not know what was happening. I believe he was a godsend in that moment because I don't have older brothers. I'm an older sister. There's 5 of us, so me and then 4 others. But in that moment, I knew what it was like to have an older brother because he just held me. He was like, it's okay, it's okay, it's okay. I eventually calmed down and I was able to go inside, and I slept. And I slept so much when I woke up, I was like, man, like, what a night it had been. And I woke up that morning and I didn't feel any different. I felt sad, and I mean a sadness that takes over your entire body. Like, you could go outside and see the sun, and it was like, it didn't matter. I felt so dark. I felt like a darkness, like a dark, you know in the movies when they have the dark cloud above, like that's how I felt. And I find myself just trying to make myself breakfast. And I'm leaning over the sink to wash a knife. And as I lean over the sink, I began to think of terrible, terrible things. I begin to think, like, man, like, people that self-harm themselves, like, do they feel release? I began to think it would be better off. Like, I'd be better off, you know, like, if it all ends here. No one has to know. No one has to know what I went through. No one has to know what I did. I can end it right here. And just as I take the knife and I begin to, like, completely go through with this thought, just to see. Like, that's how bad I wanted to get rid of this feeling, like, just to see. And as I take the knife to my wrist, my phone rings. And our phones are not that loud, you know? But in that moment, it felt like an alarm had gone off. And I jump and I throw the knife into the sink. I run and I pick up the phone. Like, I didn't care who it was. I pick up the phone, like, hello? And it's my mom. And I book it out the house. Like, I run out the house. And I begin just telling her, like, everything. And she didn't know. And she's like, hey, what's wrong? What's going on? And I just, like, completely spill. And, we have a phrase here, you know, and you just vomit. You just testimony vomit. And I just vomited. I was, like, letting everything out. And just the idea that I was there, it wrecked me. It wrecked me. Because I look at myself now and I'm like, man, like, God, like, you had so much in store for me. Like, even this, like, to even be here and talking to you guys. Like, you guys, I don't think you guys realize, like, how special it is for me. Because I now can say that the enemy knew also what God had planned for me. And he wanted to take me out of the game a long time ago. So, all of that to say, like, I don't know what you came in with. I don't know where you've been. I don't know your story. But I'm pretty sure, if not everyone in this room, there may be a good percentage have been where I've been. Maybe even worse. Maybe not as much. But we've all felt that idea of, oh man, like, it'd be better off if I just wasn't here. It'd be better off if I just didn't feel what I felt. And looking back, I realized that the very place I thought was my end was the place Jesus began. He began showing me what life meant and what he meant by life more abundant. I don't want to keep you too long. So biblically, we don't see the word, like depressed or like suicide, but we do see despair. And the Bible doesn't shy away from that reality. Like it's not just people in the world who feel like they're at their wits' end, but people also in the church. That's the reality. That people inside of this room alone, one of you, 5 of you, are going through some type of despair. And if not, all of you, then most of you have gone through some type of despair. Elijah, as we know, in 1 Kings 19, and exactly verse 4, he was so overwhelmed that he prayed, "I've had enough. Lord, take my life." But what did God do? He didn't rebuke him. He didn't chastise him, nothing. He cared for him. And he gave him food and he told him to rest. He told him to go take a nap. And he reminded him that he was not alone. And I think that is so sweet, and that is our God. But we've all had our Elijah moment. And if you hadn't, then it's a good day that you're here today, because now you know that you're going to have a moment where you're going to be there. And you're going to be at your wit's end, and you're going to be like, "I'm done with ministry. I don't want to go to church. I don't want to listen to the pastor. The church is terrible. Worship is terrible." All of this stuff. Like you're going to go from one end of the stick to the other end before you know it. Because it's true. It happens. Church will be good, and then a year down the line, 2 years, you'll be like, "I hate that they do this. Like, why do they do this? Why do they say this? Like, this makes no sense." And you're going to find yourself in a position of, "God, I'm so done." But if you don't catch that and submit it to him and be like, "Lord, this is where I'm at," it can eventually take you all the way to where you begin to be done with yourself. Because we see the wrong in others, and we see the wrong in the church and in the world, and we're like, "Man, like if the world's so bad and church so bad and Christians are so bad, what good am I?" And that does have some truth to it. No, what good are we? We're humans. We make mistakes. We fail. We fall short of the glory of God. We see what happened in the world today. It's only Thursday, and we look at what happened, and we're like, man, like there's despair all over as we look. In Job, we all know the story of Job. There was a point where he had wished he had never been born. And again, if not one of you, if not 5 of you, maybe everybody, we've all been in a place where we're like, "God, I wish I was never born." And if you've never said it out loud, then you probably just thought it. But even thinking it, even our thoughts have so much power that you've got to be careful. And David, he cried out in Psalms, and he said, "My soul is in deep anguish. How long, Lord? How long?" But if you see in all of these places, and any time people were broken before God, he never shames them. He draws them near. And ultimately, Jesus came into our suffering. He came into this world knowing exactly what we would face. He came into the world knowing the people he would face. And he died on the cross knowing the same exact thing. And he went to the cross, and he took our pain and our sin, and he went on our despair, and he rose again to give us life. In John 10:10, it reminds us that the thief comes to steal, kill, and destroy. I've come that they might have life, and life to the full. And as I read these, and I read these stories, and I went over them, I realized that his blood was shed for these very moments. That these very moments where we feel like there's nothing you have left to offer the Lord. Offer yourself, offer your friends, offer your family. Because sometimes we even do that. Like, we'll stop helping ourselves to help others. But eventually, you'll run out of that. You'll run out of being able to help because you've given up on yourself. And we're meant to pour into people, but we're meant to pour from the overflow. Like if we look at the 10 virgins and how they were giving, and talking about the oil, and they couldn't give the oil. Why? Because you can't give away salvation. You can't give away the things that God has given just to you. But you can pour from the overflow. You can pour from just being like, God, like, I don't know where I'm at and I don't understand. From those places, yes, you can overflow. But if you give up on yourself, believe it or not, you've already given up on everybody else. Because you can't help anybody. Because you've said to yourself, like, that the cross wasn't enough. And I didn't want to talk about that. I was like, God, I don't even want to say that, but it's true. When it comes to suicide, and when we think of suicidal thoughts, and we think, man, it would be better if I wasn't here, and we think, God, I wish I was never born, we're essentially saying the blood that was shed on the cross is not enough. We're essentially saying that my feelings, my despair is bigger than my God. In the Bible, every single time will prove you wrong. Israel, like, they were so with God, without God, with God, without God. But even then, even their despair wasn't too big for God. Job, his despair was not too big for God. Elijah. David. A man after God's own heart, and he still fell into some crazy things. He saw crazy things. Our souls were meant to not see certain things. But even then, God was there for them. And God says he's here for you. Your despair is not too big for the Lord. How could his blood not be enough? How could it not? He thought of you as he endured every beating, every punch, every slap. All the way till he breathed his last breath, he said, I'm doing this for Bree. I'm doing this for Shalom. I'm doing this for Bree. I'm doing this for Paul. I'm doing this for Young. I'm doing this for Russ. For everybody. Even the people that don't even know him yet. He did it for them. So I believe, and I know suicide, it's a heavy term. All of this is a heavy term. But I believe everything is spiritual. If you don't want to go there, that's okay. But I believe that the enemy has used suicide to deceive us that an eternal solution is the answer to a temporary problem, to a temporary season. The word says that there is a season for everything under the sun. Everything. And it literally lists a time to cry, a time to mourn, a time to grieve, a time to be happy, a time to have joy, a time to be angry. Like, it literally lists. It's not in that exact way, so you can go fact check me. But it lists everything we feel in today's humanity and society. He says there's a time for everything. So yes, the Bible does speak against taking your life. Because you weren't made for that. You weren't made to control when you come into the world or when you go out. Only he was. You were made with a purpose, with a reason. Before you even entered the womb, God had thought of you and what you were going to do and why you're here sitting at Pacarim. He already thought of you, so you're enough. I promise you're enough, because before the earth was even created, God already thought of you. So I know right now may be a season where you're like, God, I don't understand. God, it makes no sense. God, I'm tired. God, what I thought was my ministry, it doesn't even look like when I first entered it. Maybe you're in a transition season and you're coming from, doing all of this stuff, to doing something different, and it feels so heavy and so confusing. But God was like, I thought of you already for this moment. So for those who are struggling, you're not alone. Your life has value. And I don't say that to make you feel good, and I don't say that because I should say that. I say that because I mean it. Your life has value. Your life has value. And as I thought, God, what else can I leave them with, One of the things I really felt God revealed to me was I can tell you your life has value and that you matter. And another preacher can, and a counselor can, and somebody else can. But you won't believe it unless you take up that mantle. That Jesus Christ died for you, and he died for you because you have purpose and because you matter. And you may not matter even to yourself, but you matter to him. Asking for help is not weak. It's courage. It's courageous. It's courageous to ask for help because you're saying, I am in such a vulnerable area of my life. You are given the decision to stay quiet or ask somebody to come into that part of your life and help you. When I first told my mom what I was struggling with, it was so scary. But when I tell you, when you share that and you take that burden and you just lay it out on the table, it's not you giving up. It's you giving over to God what belonged to him in the first place. Jesus hasn't left you, even when your mind tells you otherwise. For those who don't understand, maybe you haven't been here or just none of it makes sense. Don't dismiss the pain inside of you or the pain inside of others with quick answers like, let's just pray more. Just have more faith. Be present. Listen. We go over so many things that Jesus did, but I think one of the biggest things we miss is that he listened. He listened to people, and that's why he was able to help them walk out through stuff. Why he was able to give them the right answer at the right time, because he listened. We are called to weep with those who weep, mourn with those who mourn, and rejoice with those who rejoice. So listen. Listen to what your brother is going through. Listen when you have that random person who out of nowhere is approaching you, and you'll feel like, man, why are they telling me all this stuff? Listen. And for the church, we here at Pack Room, we consider this our church. There are some people in this room who don't even attend another church, but on Thursdays at 10 a.m., they are here and they are present. Because this is their church. We consider this a church. So many bodies are represented here. So it says in Galatians, carry each other's burdens, and in this way you will fulfill the law of Christ. This means creating a community where it's safe to say, I am not okay. I need help. And where we respond with love. So my story is one of many, where Jesus is stepping into the darkness and bringing hope. And if he did it for me, I know he can do it for you. We believe here at Pack Rim that Jesus, his name and his story and everything he ever did is the testimony of prophecy. So if he did it for me, he can do it for you. If you are breathing, your life has purpose. Young made us do an exercise where we were breathing every single breath. You're literally breathing the name of God. And you have purpose. So if you're hurting, you're not forgotten. We see you, but more overall, God sees you. It's why you're here in this room. And if you feel hopeless, know this, Jesus is hope himself. So we're going to go into a moment of prayer. I don't want to dismiss anybody here without giving you an opportunity to just be prayed for. I don't know if we want to just pray with one another or even just have our leaders. If you're a leader here, yeah, I want to do that. If you're a leader here at Pack Rim, maybe you can just join us up in the front. Kind of move off to the side if you want to as well. Mama Linda, if you could also come up here. And if you feel in this room that you've been where I talked about, or even see yourself going there. Maybe you're not there yet, but you've even felt yourself going there. I just want you to come and receive prayer from people who love you. We may not even know you yet. I see some new faces yet in here. But let me tell you, we love you. We love you, and we're so happy that you're here. And remember that nothing will separate us from the love of God ever. Your despair, your hopelessness, your anger, your sadness, your confusion, it does not separate you from the love of God. And that's biblical. So we're going to take a time to pray. And then we're going to do something a little bit different before just letting you off. After we finish praying, we're going to rejoice. Because the enemy tried, and he lost. And you may be thinking, but wait, I'm still in this mindset. I still feel this way. Well, let me tell you, he lost today because we just exposed it to the light. And when you come up for prayer, that's what you're doing. You're exposing what you feel you're all alone in and isolated in to the one who's the only one who can fulfill you and is the only person who can heal that. So today, the enemy lost. And I tell you, your story is not over. So yeah, dear Jesus, we just thank you. We just ask that you just intervene in this time of prayer. Lord, and for that person that feels like, no, I can't go up there, I pray that you just give them a little push, that you're there, you are near, and you are near the brokenhearted today. And maybe you don't need prayer for yourself, but prayer for somebody else. Intercede for them. Be the middleman for them. So yeah, we thank you, Jesus. We love you. Yeah, and we enter this time of prayer in your name, Lord. Amen.
Hey fam, thanks for checking out this week's chapel service. If at any point during the message you felt like the Lord was speaking to you, make sure to leave it in the comment section down below. We'd love to hear what God is doing through and within our community. Also make sure to like and subscribe and hit the notification bell down below. And if you're interested in learning more about Pacific Rim Christian University, make sure to check out our website at pacrim.edu.